So I'm tearing my kitchen apart looking for something, so I might, come in and out, but I think I'm just going to give up and go with something. Looking for a specific pot I know exists and I cannot find. And the pot I want is dirty and I don't want to wash it, so I'm going to settle on a pot that's not the right pot, but it'll work. Ouch. Make sense? I was experimenting with an art project that didn't turn out, and I have some food coloring that I don't want to throw away because, hey, so I threw some yarn into it and I'm going to put it into the pot and I'm going to dye it, but I wanted the size smaller, not the giant one. Anyway, food coloring's a really good yarn dye. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying not to splash everywhere. Yeah, there we go. So let's talk a minute about how experience colors perception. The old, if all you have is a hammer, everything starts looking like a nail. Okay, you know that one? I posted something. Well, somebody posted something on Facebook that I took exception to. And I left it for 24 hours and came back and gave a polite pushback. And they went blah, 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 blah. And I gave another polite pushback. And they went blah, 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 blah. And I took it to my own wall and I posted. And somebody else came in and went blah, 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 blah. And I pushed back and they went blah, 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 blah. And I pushed back and they went blah, 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 and blah. That's how I hear these things most of the time, just for the record. And part of it is that I know where both of them are coming from. And I don't 100% disagree, but they're not hearing what I'm saying because they're hearing it through their own filters. I'm trying to be polite about this. So, if the only counseling you've ever done is tarot card reading, then the only clients you've ever counseled are relatively superstitious, relatively religious in some form, whether they understand that about themselves or not, relatively willing to hear about a higher power, and relatively not hearing about science. If the only counseling you've ever done is at a crisis counseling center, then everything's a Hail Mary pass. And you can't take a long world approach. You can't take a let's give it a year, any of that. Everything is emergent in a crisis. If the only counseling you've ever done is anorexics, then everything has to be carefully considered. You have to really weigh your words. If the only counseling you've done is obese people, clinically morbidly obese people, then you have to be really, really blunt and try to get through. If the only counseling you've done is to children, then you have to shade your words. If the only counseling you've done is AA, then you're back to being really, really blunt and hoping to get through. Do you see how that is? So I've been a nutritional counselor off and on over the years. I started out working health, a naturopath's office. I've worked in a diet clinic, and 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 I've worked at a GNC, and I've worked Catholic Social Services. And I've worked church services, Mormon church services, and I've worked at GNC. and I've worked a corporate counseling job, and I've worked a pagan job, tarot cards. So I've got this broad spectrum of clientele, because bored housewife who's just curious is not the same thing as, oh my God, my 5-year-old won't eat and why does he have this rash? Is not the same thing as, can you help me optimize 5 extra percent on my 0.5% on my lift? I've worked Bally and another fitness place. Counseling jocks, counseling bodybuilders is not the same thing as counseling anorexics, is not the same thing as counseling schizophrenics, is not the same thing as counseling suburban house moms, is not the same thing as counseling teenage anorexics, is not the same thing as counseling somebody in a recovery trying to get their health back, is not the same thing as counseling somebody with an undiagnosed food allergy. The one thing all those positions had in common was the people I was counseling didn't have valid medical coverage. Because everybody has this expectation that everybody has valid medical coverage, that you just go to the doctor and you're good. Go to the doctor and get some tests. Everybody thinks that they have middle of the road insurance. Okay. Best insurance I ever had was welfare. Period. End of discussion. Need something, got it done. If you could convince the doctor to do it. Second best insurance I ever had was group health, and they almost killed me twice. I see people who grew up on Blue Cross, who grew up on Providence, who grew up on Prudential or whatever, Kaiser Permanente. There's 1,000 insurance companies. They grew up with really good insurance. $5 and $20 co-pays and oh, you need that test? Okay, let's get that test done. We just need to get authorization. Okay. 20, maybe 25% of the population has that. Welfare, 20, maybe 25% of the population has that. That leaves 50% of the population with a $60 copay. Everything they do, you gotta go to the pharmacy, $60 or $30. Gotta go to the doctor, $60. Gotta go to the dentist, $60. Gotta go for the next appointment, $60. Let's break this into 3 appointments. They do that to you, by the way. I've had dentists that would not do more than one thing per appointment. I've had doctors that won't do more than one thing per appointment because they can't bill. No, we'll have to talk about that next week. And then you got to the front desk and you say, he wants to see me next week. And she says, oh, that's nice. The next appointment we have is 5.5 months away. Yeah, should have talked to him while you were back there. Yeah, that was Tribal Clinic. Half of the people out there don't have that access. They really honestly don't. They can't go in and get an allergy test. Okay, I was 50 years old before a doctor told me that they had developed a celiac blood test in the last 20 years. Because I'd never had, it didn't exist when I went through training, and no doctor had ever mentioned it. Okay? Trying not to be grumpy and frustrated. Trying really hard. When you're counseling people on health problems, on weight, on whatever, my first thing, I don't care if you're bringing me an ADD kid, or if you're having PTSD, or if you have a rash in a strange place. I don't care. Dandruff, I don't care what it is. Have you tried a food elimination diet? See if there's something triggering this. Start by eliminating all your nightshades. The husband just walked up to the window and made faces at me. He's out raking leaves. Try eliminating all nightshades for a month. Didn't do any good. Okay. Try eliminating all gluten for a month. All wheat. Didn't do any good. Okay. Try eliminating eggs for a month. Still not helping. Let's go worst case scenario and try pulling you off of sugar for a month. Why? Because blue food coloring can cause all kinds of health problems, because food allergies are real and food intolerances are real, and they don't show up in tests. And 9 times out of 10, I'll turn to somebody and say, those little prickly points on your hand that you have, those little, I'm dyeing green dye, those little plasticky spots that develop that itch like crazy, that's usually gluten. Why don't you try eliminating gluten? And the person will come back 6 weeks later and go, oh my God, you saved my life. Oh my God, I didn't have any idea how sick I was. And it's really, really, really ego boosting. Okay? If nightshade is an arthritis trigger for you, and I tell you, hey, why don't you just drop your nightshades for a month? You will go out of your way to come talk to me and tell me how much of a difference it made in your life. So if I post, I support fat elimination diets, give it a try, intelligently, and I caveated that, intelligently, with a food diary, and 2 different people make a big deal. Courtney makes the big deal that it's just fad diets and they should have gone to their doctor. They should have gone to their doctor. Well, they'd know if they had a food allergy. They should have gone to their doctor. No, they wouldn't know if they have a food allergy. Can you see the swelling? Hi. Can you see this? I'm slagged on this side. The side that has the bone missing is the side that had the stroke, so it slags. Anyway, having a bad day. My niece was mortally offended at the idea that I supported fad diets because she's also a nutritionist. She works at a food bank. I don't know if it's specifically a food bank, but there's a food bank where she works. She works county level, civil service, which means that everybody she sees has insurance because they can't get help if they don't have coverage, welfare, something. So yeah, what do you do when you don't have insurance? You know, food as pharmacy. You start looking to make it work, to figure out what's causing the problems. Elimination diets really help with that. There's something that you can get somebody to follow. If I've got somebody I'm reasonably certain is diabetic, but they're not hearing me and they won't listen to me, the easiest way to make the point is to put them on keto. Keto fucking sucks. Atkins fucking sucks. Don't do it without a reason, okay? Keto and veganism can give you years of health problems from trying it for 6 weeks. They really can. But if I've got a diabetic who is not diagnosed, who will not listen to me about cutting the sugars and controlling their sugar intake, and I put them on keto, within a week their head clears up and they start thinking straight. And they start coming to me and going, why is this so helpful? Why is this working? And then I can get them to listen about the sugar. That's my thought. Because I learned to be a counselor to people who look like me and not people who don't look like me. I don't know how to say that. Anyway, my eye is like halfway to swollen shut. It itches really bad and I want to dig at it. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.